Hello guys, Miss J here, and I am going to do a quick lesson on metaphors and similes. They are like a cool breeze on a sunny day. Okay, so first I want to talk a little bit about what a metaphor is. A metaphor is a comparison of two unlike things. You're calling one thing another thing, but they're not the same kind of thing or not the same family of things. So let me explain what that means. First, we'll look at what not a metaphor is. What is not a metaphor? That little girl is a preacher. So we're calling this little girl preacher. She probably, does a little preaching or talks about Jesus, and we're just like, oh, that little girl's a preacher. But that's not a metaphor, because a preacher and a little girl are not unlike things. A little girl's a human, a preacher is a human. So what we're not going to do is compare two similar things and then call them a metaphor, because that would be incorrect. So that little girl is a preacher is not a metaphor, because a preacher is a human and a little girl is a human. So not a metaphor. That pig is a dirty animal. Okay, comparing a pig to, or calling a pig a dirty animal. A pig is an animal, and it's a dirty animal. So these things are not unlike each other. If you said that pig is a filthy trash can, that would be a metaphor, because a pig and a trash can are two separate things. But if you say that pig is a dirty animal, that's not a metaphor, because again, these things are not unlike each other. They are very similar. Pig is an animal. So, same thing, not a metaphor. The next one, this football game is an exciting sport. Again, football is a sport, so to call it an exciting sport is not a metaphor, because it's not an unlike thing. So let's look at examples of metaphors. I am the bread of life, Jesus said. He called himself a human, bread, right? Bread of life. Bread of life, or bread, the substance of bread, is not a human being. A human being is not bread, so that is a comparison of two unlike things. Calling it directly what it is makes it a metaphor. So, I am the bread of life. Now, if Jesus said, I am like the bread of life, it would no longer be a metaphor, because when you add the word like or as, it becomes a simile. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. To make it a metaphor, it cannot include the word like or as. The next one. Your smile is a ray of sunshine, and all of your smiles are like rays of sunshine, and I can't wait to see them again. Your smile, a ray of sunshine. Two unlike things, making it a metaphor. Calling your smile a ray of sunshine directly. You're not saying your smile is like a ray of sunshine. You're saying your smile is a ray of sunshine. That makes it a metaphor. You compare two things that are unlike each other. Therefore, it is a true metaphor. That boy is a pig. Okay, unlike this one, a boy is not a pig. So to compare a boy and an animal, or a human and an animal, that does qualify for metaphor. And two unlike things, therefore it is a metaphor. Quarantine is the pits. Quarantine is something that right now everybody's going through, and it's the pits, right? So pits meaning, earthly pits or pit in the ground. Two unlike things, a metaphor, therefore this qualifies for a metaphor. All of these are metaphors. Remember, a metaphor is a comparison of two unlike things. Okay, quickly, let's go to similes. Okay, a simile. It is just like a metaphor, except the only difference here is you are adding the words like or as. So, a simile is when you compare two unlike things using like or as. Now, let's start off with looking at examples of similes. The day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. Okay, the day of the Lord and thief in the night, two different things. They are not like each other. You're comparing them using the word like or as. So therefore, it becomes a simile. The soldier is as brave as a lion. Calling a soldier an animal, comparing him to an animal, a lion. Therefore, you are comparing two unlike things using like or as. The boys hit the buffet like a swarm of locusts. The boys being compared to a swarm of locusts, and how they hit the buffet like a swarm of locusts. So this is a comparison of two unlike things using like or as. How the boys hit the buffet, just like a swarm of locusts. Elder Jackson is like a wise owl. Elder Jackson being compared to an animal, two unlike things using the word like or as. That makes it a simile. Now, if we wanted to turn any of these into a metaphor, we could easily do that by removing like or as. The soldier is a brave lion. That becomes a metaphor. Elder Jackson is a wise owl. That becomes a metaphor. So all you have to do to turn a simile into a metaphor is remove the words like or as, rephrase it a little, and compare two unlike things. You're good. Same thing with the metaphor. To get the metaphor to become a simile, that boy is just like a pig. That becomes a simile. Quarantine is like the pits. That is a simile. Now let's look at what is not a simile. What's not a simile? She is just like her sister. Again, you have to compare two unlike things. She is just like her sister is not a simile because you're calling a human another human. Chocolate ice cream is like the best. So this isn't comparing anything to anything. You're just saying chocolate ice cream is like the best. You're just adding that little filler of the word like. The painting was as pretty as a Monet. Monet, an artist, his paintings are called the Monets, right? And so the painting, comparing a painting to another artist's paint or artwork is not a comparison of two unlike things. It's the same thing. So it is not a simile. Finally, I'm like my dad. Comparing yourself to your dad is not a simile because you are human. Your dad is a human. Therefore, two unlike things does not qualify. Although you used like or as, you did not qualify it as a simile because it has to compare two unlike things.